How are you going today, Seb? How's things?
Yeah, pretty good. A little bit hectic. We've just changed CCS softwares, which is always hectic. There are upsides, but during the transition phase, you struggle to see them.
It, yeah, yeah. It's not. Well, you've got parents involved, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they have to be nowadays. Used to be you
Yeah.
just changed in the back end. The only thing they saw was a reformatted form. Now it's apps and
No, it's and
codes and changing the way it works, and yeah, and some
and
love it, some hate it.
yeah, everyone from your families to you are impacted.
Educators to CEOs to the board.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's. I take my hat off to you for doing it. So that's probably pretty much sums up your last few weeks, right?
Yeah, yeah, that and yeah, that's pretty much it. It seemed like a good thing. We were like, oh, we'll make it the start of term two. That'll make a nice, easy, clean transition for parents. They'll finish term one. They'll start term two in their after school care. School holiday bookings are 8 weeks away. It's going to be great. We forgot we had a long weekend, 2 long weekends. So we had 3 days the week beforehand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the best idea.
Because it's literally just started, hasn't it? Like literally, you've just right now is term two.
Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday was our first
Yesterday,
day. So
yeah.
yesterday afternoon and all of yesterday was just nothing really. I spent the entire day dealing with the rollout.
Well, you look like it hasn't phased you too much. You look very relaxed, very calm.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, you look good.
Well, going home exhausted, you sleep the night through.
You're having good sleeps. That's probably what you're doing. Yeah. But hey, look, what we love to do, Seb, with all of our guests, and look, and having met you a few times, and I know you know your journey a little bit, we ask our guests to share their journey on how you got to the role you're in the sector and what you've learned along the way. Can you share that journey with us today?
Yes, that's like I'm thinking, how long ago do you want me to start?
Oh, back to the beginning. You've got a really cool story.
I'll start then with basically what I do when I talk to the high school students, that which is going to high school. So I finished high school and my aim was to be a pediatric neurologist, so to enter medicine and do that. I did not get in. I did get into a science degree and studied anatomy and neuroscience, and I did that for a few years and went through all my mid-20s and all the fun and joy that can that can be. And then, so I got almost to the end of my degree and realised that I wanted absolutely nothing to do with being a scientist. I really enjoyed the work. I loved the topics and did not in any way, shape or form want to spend my life studying and doing those sorts of things. So I sort of took a year off, I said, and I was like, I'm going to discover what I want to do with my life in this year off. And so I was, I think I was working at Macca's part-time at the time, so I continued working at Macca's while discovering what to do with myself. And fortunately, after yeah, it's work. You need money. You got to work.
Absolutely.
Then end of that year, my sister was having her first child, and she wanted to, and she couldn't find anyone. She was going to go back to work, and she couldn't find anyone to look after them. And I sort of went, oh well, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I like working with kids. I'd au paired for my brother in Germany for 6 months once. So I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty fun. So I moved to Tasmania and was looking after her kid. And then she had another one. And then coming towards the end, I think her oldest child was it must have been in prep. And the youngest one had started kinder. And I looked back and realised that I really loved looking after them. And so I thought, they were aging me out of a job.
Oh, yeah.
So I was sort of looking around what to do, and we're a very academically inclined family, so I sort of jumped on the UTAS website and went early childhood search. And it went, you can do a bachelor's in early childhood and learn to teach 0 to grade 6. So I went, right, I'll do that. And I enrolled in that, and that's kind of how I got to doing my ECT degree. And they did age me out of a job in the first 2 years of my course. So, I moved from Burnie to Launceston, and I started looking for work, and I got work in an outside school hours care service at what was then NCN, but is now Thrive. And I was also working. It's also when I heard about in-home care, where you go into people's homes and look after their children for a variety of reasons. So I was doing that and working in outside school hours care as I was studying. So I was pretty, I'd like to say specialised, but you could also say, lazy in the in-home care. I had one family at a time. I was like, I'll look after them, and then we off, and then that was enough work for me to live on and keep studying. So,
Plus, do you think it also helped that you'd actually been with your family and you had that one-on-one focus as well? That would have been a bit of a grounding to do what you did.
It is. And I mean, it's something you're used to. So, spending all day by myself with a 2-year-old wasn't something that worried me. I didn't get bored or upset. I just did things with 2-year-olds. Found things that they would enjoy and that they would like, and I just did that. And that's just part of what it was. And I mean, tested out my teaching degree on them as you went.
Yeah. And I was going to say to you, they were aging you out of a job, right? So it means that you were there doing early learning with your family for many years.
Yeah. So, he was, what's that, 10-1. So he would have been, the oldest child would have turning 6, I think, the last year I was looking after them. So I did six years of them. And then, I moved here and, worked in Osh. And, so that was... that was quite a few years, yes. But, I'm from a big family as well. So working with young children wasn't that unusual for me. I just didn't consider it work when I was younger. It was chores or just doing what Mum said.
Yeah. So how many of there were you in your family?
There's 10. So I'm the
That's
third
right.
oldest. Yeah.
And from Queensland to Tasmania, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in far north Queensland in Innisfail. When I did my science degree, I moved to Melbourne. And so I lived there for, I think, 4 years. And then, moved over to Tasmania in 2006. And, so I've been here ever since and got kind of lucky with my career progression because just as I finished my degree, a centre leader position came up. And the manager at the time said, you should apply for it. And I sort of went, yeah, sure. Haven't applied for a job, a real job as I consider it, not Macca's, in years. So I said, I'll go do it, see what the interview process is like, and I'll learn something from it because they'll quite happily give me feedback. And then I got that job, which was, a surprise to me, but it was good. So that was running one of our services. And then 3 years later, they asked me to come and be the manager for all our services, so to help all the other service leaders out. So I did that. And then 3 years after that, our director of children's services left, and I applied for that job and got me to where I am now. So
wow. And visiting you in Tasmania, I've seen the impact of what you do, Seb. It's really impressive. You're so committed to children and the sector. It's lovely to see.
Thanks, Paula.
Yeah, that's all right. It was true. Like we did so much. It was fantastic. So, no, really, and hence why I've said, hey, listen, come and share your story because you, once again, what we hear is mostly people don't go, I'm going to go and do this from the start. Yes. You end up falling into it, which once again, you go from science to early learning.
Yeah. Well,
so very, very much luck for you and luck for the sector that you've come and put your skills and your care into it. So it's fantastic. And so you're at Thrive. So you've started at Thrive all those years ago and you've stayed with Thrive.
Yes, through name changes and all sorts of things. But yes, I was like, it wasn't, I guess, it's hard to look at. It's like, I'm not sort of looking for other jobs. I was like, at some point, I guess I'll need more challenges. But the way education and care is going in Australia, I suspect the job's going to keep giving me more challenges. I'm not going to need to leave. It's seems to be accelerating a lot faster than we can keep up sometimes. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, and I know you thrive and you're involved with this heavily is opening of new services.
Yes. So yeah.
So yes, so exciting times for you, and I certainly appreciate the amount of time and significant effort you have to put into doing these openings and buildings and getting all those things through to open a service. Can you walk us through like a timeline and the steps involved from where the concept to when it opens?
Okay, so well, we're a not for profit, and we're mainly in rural and regional areas. So we don't actually tend to build any. So we tend to go government sites, work with schools, work with councils to open services. Um, and some community groups. I mean, some we were approached and they sort of went, look, we can't. It's getting too complex. We can't keep up with what we need to. Can you know, look at taking over and running it for us? I think that was our last service, or one of the services we've had has said that to us. So, that's kind of how we get involved in the bigger ones. With the government ones, it's a lot of, you do your tender, then you look at how am I going to staff this before I apply for the tender? Can I find someone in the area? Um, you know, is this something we can um, is it something we can do? Is it something we can support? I mean, because we use a centralized business model because we're set up in a way to try to save funds so that we can open. We have some very small services. I mean, we have a 10-place early learning service um, that is out on the East Coast. And, it's not a service that's going to make a lot of money on its own, but our model helps support it to be that. But, if we, for instance, opened a small service, I'm just trying to think of a place that we're not now, which is really hard. I'm not great on geography. You know, Up or in the south, out, in the southwest or somewhere. Is it possible for us to support it? Like, do we have staff available to actually go and help them if anything happens? Those are the things we have to sort of look at. What can we do in case of emergency?
Absolutely. And in Tasmania, the rural and remote areas are vast.
Yeah, it's we just got a new service leader in our Queenstown service, and she moved from New South Wales, I believe. Hopefully, I haven't got that wrong.
I'll tell you.
When she originally looked at it, she went, "Oh well, I'll stay with my parents when I first get there. It's only, it's only an hour and a half drive away. That'll be fine." I was like, "Yeah, no, driving from the coast up the mountain to Queenstown is theoretically an hour and a half, but you're not going to want to do it every morning. It's not like going in Sydney traffic where it's a cruisy drive. It's, especially in winter, it's icy corners and up a mountain and,
And
sometimes
that presents its own dangers, right?
yeah. So, I mean, she got here, did the drive the first time, went, yeah, no, I'll wait till I can find a house. I'm like, yeah, that's sensible. But yeah, I don't think people quite realise. They look at the map and go, oh yeah, that's pretty close. I can do that. I do that now. Like a lot of people, especially from cities, go, yeah, no, I drive an hour or an hour and a half into work every day as is. And it's like, yeah, but it's a different hour and a half.
Yeah. It's got more obstacles, really, hasn't it, to it? And
Yeah.
It's not just an hour and a half both ways; it's an hour and a half each way.
Yeah.
And were you able to open that service? And she went there and then got her own home, her own place in that town.
She did. She, and we reached out to, community partners through our network, through the staff who they know, and said, can you find us? We got someone moving. We got a service leader. She's coming. She needs a house. Or originally, she just wanted a long stay accommodation because she was like, she didn't want to rent a place until her husband had got here, so they could pick a place together and not be doing it off internet photos. So,
yeah.
The communities are usually really good about that. They'll come back and say, oh, so-and-so's got this for renting, or this person's got this, or, go and talk to these guys. They can help you out. They'll help you do a deal, or talk to their agents, their clients through the real estate agent to see if someone will rent for a short-term or a medium-term rent or something. So, so the community counts. They pull together usually, and help us out.
Yeah, and of course it's their benefit. They're getting a service that's much needed.
Yep.
and that's quite often how rural towns work, really. And I suppose when you're that isolated, they're the things you have to overcome.
Yeah, it's they're all very. It's funny. They're kind of the same but unique at the same time. I mean,
Yeah,
Flinders Island, you sort of think, oh yeah, they're you put them together and say, oh yeah, those in Queenstown would be our two most remote. But at the
yeah,
same time,
yeah,
you have that thing where all the community comes together and helps out, and when we need things, they can do that, and that's
yeah,
fantastic. But at the same time, I would never sort of go, oh yeah, no, the communities are very similar. The actual communities are very different. It's a very
yeah.
different lifestyle in both places.
And you mentioned Flinders Island, so you've got a service on Flinders Island.
Yes, we have Flinders Island. So
Wow.
that's a little 15-place service. It's another staffing struggle, and it has been for the entire time. So currently, we're lucky; we've got 3 or 4 people working there. But we can't even open it full-time hours yet, because anytime someone gets sick, we're closing down, and it was just ridiculously frustrating for parents and things, and the staff were getting burnt out doing enormous long days, 5 days a week, no breaks. So currently we're working on trying to train up some people on the island, so that we can go back to doing full hours.
I was actually just going to ask you, because that's to even open a centre. What you needed to do to get to that opening
Yeah.
would have been quite a task.
Yeah. So it's yes. So staffing wise is our biggest one. So most of our services are government have built them and have put it out to tender, because they've gone no one's going to run a service here because it's not cost effective. Little did they know. So
I'm sure they're figuring it out fast, though.
yeah, so they built it, and then we sort of say yes, yeah, we'll run it. So
Yeah,
then it really is finding people to move there to start with, if there's not qualified people in the area, and then constantly trying to train them and convince them to upgrade to diploma, because
yeah,
like Queenstown, when our service leader, when we lost our 2 diplomas last year, they moved into the city for personal reasons. We were left with 1 diploma and I think 5 Cert 3s. So we were training the Cert 3s, so that was great, but you can't run like that. So it was waivers and bits and pieces and moving on and trying to get it all.
yeah. And in fact, it's so different to the experience of services in real city areas where there's people. I mean, I still know there's staffing issues, but
Yeah.
but to overcome what you're going through there is really part of your plan from the beginning.
Yeah, it really is, really trying to build up local talent, I guess, and it's working with communities to do that. So we've actually hired a new, we made a new position this year for our training and project advisor, and her job is basically to go around, support trainees and visit fairs and other things and find more and convince people to do the course, even if they don't end up joining us, even if they, or we run family daycare as well, so
Yeah,
we're also quite happy if they want to run a family daycare, and we'll help support them
yeah,
to do that.
yeah. Because it's helping the children where you are anyway
Yeah, it's what we
as
can
well.
get into
So
the community is.
yeah. No, that's fantastic. So now you talked about centralized building module.
Organisation.
Yeah. How much of that do you like? How much of the admin and work do you take away to make sure those services are supported, but don't need to do all the?
As much as we can. So the idea is that at the service level, they concentrate on the children and the families. So realistically, the only thing we want our service leaders doing is anything that has to do with the children's education and care, and talk to the families about that.
Yeah,
And then sending everything else through to us. So, most of the time it's serious incidents. They call us and say, hey, a child visited a hospital. The form is on, this is the kid's name. The form is on Early Works, which is
right.
our documentation program. And then we read it, and then we contact parents, and, we submit it to the ECU and say, this is what happened. This is what we did. This is the process. And we do all that side. We do all the billing and admin. We do all the CCS reporting. Um, yeah, it's really like we're the nominated supervisors for it. So
Actually, I remember you mentioning that when we met.
yes,
Explain how does that impact your head office? Like, how does that impact your support team? You being the nominated supervisors and having your services remote.
so yeah, it's getting a lot of processes in place, I guess, so that we can do our job, and then just in doing compliance visits to make sure that they're doing their job, I guess. So it's a bit of a support them. It makes it a little bit difficult, and you get nervous sometimes. That I'm the nominated, somebody has an accident or does the wrong
Yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah,
150 kilometres away from me, and it's my responsibility. So yeah, that's a little bit nerve wracking sometimes, but it's just putting it in place and hiring and trusting the people to do
yeah.
be in contact. And I mean,
Um,
our centre leaders the service leaders are really good about that. They'll call us. I think I'd be surprised if a week went by when I didn't talk to one or two of them. The manager of the service a day wouldn't go by when she wasn't in contact with one of them. So yeah, it's a bit, but it
yeah.
works and it keeps costs down.
And that way you can support all of those families, all of those services. And when you're looking to implement, your workforce challenges are amazing. And I know everyone has got them, but not saying it, but it's so different in Tasmania where you are than what it is, I believe, for the rest of us over here on the mainland. Um, those impacts you talk about, the nominated supervisor, the incidents, all of that would affect your day-to-day operations. And the solutions that you've got, obviously they're talking to you every day, they're doing things. Is there anything particular that stands out for you that really makes a difference to be able to do what you do and support those services?
So I feel a bit like I'm trying to sell to you now, but yeah. Well, things like digital programs like One Place and the other programs that you have where we can access things instantly. Where it's not somebody has to find office time and scan it and fax it or email it, and it's got to be collected and seen and done. Where it's just like done. And so they do it there, and we know straight away because it's a centralized process. Yes, that's been a huge difference to us. Yeah, that's yeah.
So moving away from that paper-based where
Yeah,
you've got to actually go there and visit, and I mean,
yeah.
getting to Flinders Island wouldn't be that easy.
No, that's a flight, and essentially it's a day. So if you try to go for a single day, I think you're leaving about at 2 in the morning. It's 2 in the morning. You leave at about 7:30, 7 in the morning, so 8 in the morning or something. You get over there about 8:30. I'd have to check the flights, but I think you end up leaving. You have to be at the airport by 3 o'clock. So you have that really tight. You're here. This is it. You can do what you can, and then you got to leave, get on the plane, and come back, or you have to stay the night.
Right.
So then it's just you costs
So
add up.
there's those challenges you would be planning for as well all of the time,
Yeah. So
and
yeah,
having, obviously that's the cost you factor in as well.
yeah, and surprise things happen. Like we did it. I can't remember when it was. It wasn't too long ago, but we were going to go over and help them out with something. We're like, yeah, we're going to come over and do this. What we didn't know at the same time when we were organising all this was that the politicians or someone were going over for something with the school at the same time. So we couldn't get a flight. The plane was booked. It was full. We called up and we're like, oh, and they're like, yep, no, they called basically and booked the plane. I mean, it was just that happens. It's only what is it? I think it's 15-seater plane or something. So
Wow.
if someone's got something big coming on, I mean, if someone's bringing a lot of workers over, that's the plane gone. It's full.
And that's it. So yeah, so you wouldn't want to get there in a hurry if there's something happening and your plane's gone.
Yeah. And it's not like
Wow.
book it and go, oh, and I'll just book my next flight tomorrow. It's like, yeah, no, you might be stuck there. Like, you might get a flight over and turns out the flight back tomorrow is booked out. I mean, that was
Oh,
our service leader recently. She was like, oh, I can get a flight to come over to this meeting, but I can't get back until Wednesday. And we're like, well, we can't shut the service for an extra day, you know. So that was just
wow. Wow, that's yeah,
remote.
that's they're real challenges for you that and it's obviously not just something you do every 6 months. They would be something
Yeah.
you'd be thinking about quite often.
Yeah, well, we try to book our service leader meetings yearly. So they're quarterly meetings. And then we have 2 educational leader meetings. So we try to book them in advance so that they can make their flights and say, right, this is this. And, the workforce we have, then they also generally have to organise some form of, family looking after their children.
Yeah, and then you've still got to support your service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's going to support the service while they're away?
Yeah. Hey, now listen, I know we've sort of covered so many things. Is there any strategies that you haven't shared or something you found really effective in around that recruitment, that retention, or the day-to-day operations that makes your job easier?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head.
I know. We've talked about really so much. I just want to see if there's something we've missed. No, that's good.
Look, generally the best, I guess the best results we ever get are when people in the community train and go through and are committed to being part of the sector, as opposed, every now and then people come and go, oh, I really want to help out the community, and so they do the Certificate 3, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but because they're doing it to help out the community, they don't really want to go do a diploma and push through and do extra. So it's great to have them. It's fantastic, but it's then we're still in the recruitment drive then. But every now and then you get someone who's like, yep, no, I really want to do this. I love this. And they go all the way through their diploma and they stay, and then they can help train new people.
Yeah, and that's really where you want it to be.
Yeah. It has to be community driven. You can't bring in people because, unless they love the lifestyle, they're not going to stay for however long, more than a year or 2, I guess.
Yeah.
We found that last time I did it.
So with that, talking about that 1 or 2 year plan there, so you're always, some of those strategies that we're talking about, that you're putting in place, really you're looking at a turnover of around that 2 year mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always foolishly optimistic and thinking, no, this time they're going to stay. And and that's, I want to do that. And there's part of me that says, yes, maybe I should plan more ahead, but I feel like then you're planning for failure rather than planning for success.
Yeah.
So it's more, we'll support this person, and what do we need to keep you going? What do you need to do to stay here? And sometimes the answer is no. Like I can give you 6 months because I've moved here, but I'm not going to stay. But sometimes no, I really love it. I'm going to stay. Just keep working and keep supporting me, and we just do that, and it works out really well. So
and I suppose you really don't know until they're there and working, right?
Yeah, you can't tell beforehand. I mean, we've got a ECT who's on Flinders Island actually, and she moved from New Zealand, and that was a few years ago now. I just sort of think that was a while ago. So that was one of those things. You're like, oh, she seems really nice. She wants to move here. This will be great. And it's I guess a success. she's moved. She's there. She's still there.
That is successful.
Yeah. So that was that's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for people to start there and enjoy it and like it and stay.
Yeah. Well, certainly after visiting some of your services and seeing how you operate as a team, it looks fabulous. I was like, this is beautiful, especially this the OSH service that you took us through and those services, just beautiful. And you can see it's so inviting to, to be part of that. So
Yeah.
Jamie and I certainly appreciated it.
No, yeah, that's been, they quite like showing off their services as well.
Yeah, and just some of the things you do is just fantastic. It's just thinking outside that box and just doing things differently. It was noticeable.
Oh, thank you.
So now, what I'm going to ask you next is, what do you think the sector looks like over the next 2 to 5 years? What are those challenges? And your perspective is going to be very different, I
Yeah.
think, to others.
For me, so obviously workforce is our giant challenge.
Yes.
We're mandated to have 50% of the workforce be diploma qualified, and I don't know what the job. From my view of job applicants, it's something like 10 to 25%. Getting far more Cert 3s than I would get diplomas. So that's that. So I guess it's moving towards that. It's getting that big push towards that. I think it's heartening to see that. I mean, all the parties now kind of see education and care as, a vital part and the role it plays in early childhood development, and outside school hours care, and all those sort of the wraparound services. So where do I see it going in the next couple of years? I'm like, yeah, so I think our big challenge will be keeping up. That's one of my pet peeves is some of the things as we make these big changes, but it doesn't seem to have been thought through from the entire perspective. So in COVID, for instance, they sort of went, oh, yes, it's free. Everyone can go. Like, well, that's fantastic. I don't have enough employees to have everyone go. And people will come and say to you and say, oh, isn't it great that they made it free? And I was like, yeah, but we're getting 75% of the income and you've just increased our wage cost. I was like,
Yeah, not thought out.
And, and we got through it and it was really good and it all worked. So, it's hard to say, but, it was not a nice plan. We're going to do this, and it's going to roll out. And it's going to be fantastic. It was, oh, and here's some unintended consequences for everyone.
So looking forward, there's like that next, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then putting the pressure on and trying to keep up with those changes.
Yeah. And so it's that, that's where I think, and that's the same with, the qualifications. So we needed to have these qualification rules. We needed this quality assurance, and this is the level we're going to be at. And so I'm for that. But no one sort of said to all the high schools and primary schools and that, hey, if you're pushing people towards this now, this is what they're going to need. So it's then the sector's been playing catch up, telling, high schools and that, right. Actually, no, if they're really struggling with reading and writing, then they can't then come into education and care because we're going to require them to read and write and teach reading and writing. So,
yeah.
It's a bit of a reset of how society sees the sector. And yeah, everyone playing catch up to make sure we're in the same thing. I think that's our biggest struggle. Because we look after such young children, we make very definitive snap decisions to ensure their safety, which is required. But the knock-on effects of that are what always ends up, causing.
The impact, isn't it? Is that impact
in the sector? Yeah, and people go, oh, another thing we have to do. God, what are we going? A mandatory retraining gets bigger and bigger.
Yes, and I heard you before. So I'll just talk about there's a lot of Cert 3s, not many diplomas, and then obviously be less bachelors. So it's actually encouraging that let's step out of high school instead of that Cert 3, go to your diploma.
Oh, so you can't even do that nowadays. You have to do the Cert 3 to get
Cert 3 first to get to your diploma.
But
so
having that plan, I guess, when they leave, it's like I'm not planning to do a Cert 3 and get a job. I'm planning on getting, going through to a diploma or going through to a bachelor's, and having more ECT courses. I mean, we've got a graduate diploma, which, I've had some really, really good applicants for graduate diploma. and I've had some applicants where, one of my weirdly standard questions for ECTs is explain the learning cycle to me, which, is pretty basic and all your diplomas should do it. But the amount of candidates who just can't do it because that's, they did the graduate diploma to get a job, not because they're interested in early childhood. And so they just sort of stare at you blankly. And I'm like, well, how are you going to be supporting my staff?
No, that's a really good question. I think you've just shared that with our audience. I'm sure someone will steal it.
That's all right. I learned a lot going to these different, helping out. I can't remember what they're called, careers and things for high school. So Beacon Foundation in Tasmania, which I'm pretty sure is a government department, runs quite a number of them. And I've done a few, and helping students learn interview skills has helped me make my interviewing better.
Wow. See, that's something else you do, Seb.
Yeah. So
fantastic. See, we'll have to do another podcast just to dig a bit deeper into all those other things that I know that happened that we're sort of not covered today.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But anyway, we've run out of time, but I so appreciate all your effort, your wisdom, your knowledge and support of the sector and looking after all those families and children in Tasmania that you do, and appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all.